Again, Diana. You know, just to reflect for a moment on that visit. That was the most significant period of my life, no question, and the most significant of in my relationship, in my connection with God-man. But there were many strands. When I'm just thinking about it, there's a number of strands, there's a number of themes that I could about in relation to those 14 days. And so I think that let's just take one at a time, not try to cover everything. Let's first of all talk about these wishes for Avatar's abode. And that was the most important. That was you could say was the purpose of my being there with him. Was I wanted to work for Baba. I wanted to serve him. My joy is being given tasks by him to carry out, and this was particularly so with regard to Avatar's abode. And over this particular theme regard the preparation of his wishes, the expression of his wishes for the development of Avatar's abode. From the beginning, you could, first of all, he expressed what a basic theme, the basic wish, you could say, and that was, which has been published, but let's just for the moment, now perhaps I should convey that this was, these wishes were discussed each day over these various days in Mundley Hall with Baba, and then were written down by Francis, by Erich, Francis and myself in the evening of each day, and then read back to Baba for his approval or disapproval or expansion or variation, etc. So it was something developed over quite a period of time. Period of time in the sense of hours, many hours. And it resulted in the typing out of the final version, which is called Plan for the Development of Avatar's Abode. And then underneath the subheading, these are the wishes of beloved Baba. Francis will transfer Avatar's abode to Bill, who will, when the time is ripe, form a trust of which he will be chairman and turn the place over to it. Very clear, very simple. This was typical of what was formulated, decided upon. There's always, with Baba, it's so straightforward, so simple, but so clear. And yet the mind can make it so complicated. The mind starts thinking about it, yes, but what, but if, this or that, well maybe, you know, and in the end you lose the simple message. And Baba went on, this is what was said and what Baba approved to the extent that you could say the ultimate was when he had Francis and I sit before him on that one carpet that I mentioned was in front of Barbara's hair.
Up close to it.
Right up close. We were there just at his feet. And Barbara emphasized, carry out 100% of what I have directed. And yet it's his wish. And the path to Barbara, union with God, is nothing more than pleasing him to such an extent that in the end he embraces you into himself. But you've got to please him. Live in such a way that he is pleased. Yeah. So, to go on with what Barbara approved, Bill's objective will be to make Avatar's abode universally known, for it is to be one of the great places of pilgrimage in the world. This is a great burden Barbara is putting on Bill's shoulders, and it will be the responsibility of all who love Barbara to cooperate fully with him as one heart with many hands. So simple, so beautiful, but hey, the carrying out is another matter. The living of that, one heart with hands. Just how beautiful that is.
It's an ideal.
Yeah. What a beautiful vision. Well, what a thought. A world where we all love God to such an extent that with one heart, with many, many hands, all glorifying him, pleasing him in our every moment of our life. Yeah. In a few years' time, Bill will move. In a few years' time, Bill will move with Joan and the children and his mother to Avatar's abode and set about the development of the place in right earnest, while earning his living in Brisbane 2 or 3 days a week. Mayor House will be let to suitable tenants. It is not ever to be sold, for it is also Barbara's place. Capital P. Barbara's place. After matriculation, Michael and Jenny are to go on to the University of Queensland or other suitable for Michael according to the career he chooses. Bill and family may temporarily live in Barbara House.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? I'd forgotten that was put here. Making any alterations and additions necessary. There is a further note on this later on under John and Joan. Now that was you could say, the principal theme, but there was also a final statement It was anyway. I thought there was a final wrapping up statement. Anyway, let's go through. Now, okay, the wishes covered what Barbara wished for each one who was involved at that time with Avatar's abode. Now, in addition to that, you could, in other words, that it'll be the responsibility of all who love Baba to cooperate fully with me, as one heart with many hands. In other words, even though the wishes only cover those people who were at that time actively involved with Avatar's abode. But it also, particularly the main objective, that is the development of Avatar's abode as a universal place of pilgrimage, and particularly the major centre for Meher Baba in Australia, applies to everyone, to all.
Where's the part where, you know how Baba was saying to Robert how he shouldn't take it personally?
Yes, now, what I'm getting at is that then each person was discussed with Baba, their position, and what again Baba then gradually expressed. It was formulated what Baba wished for each one. And this concerns Robert, who was at that stage. When I was in India, Robert was here as manager, appointed by Baba, and as I think I mentioned to him, Baba referred to him as Francis's left hand.
That's right.
Robert is not to feel in the least that he's being bypassed in favour of Bill. Baba is well aware of all the difficulties he has been through and is well satisfied with all his and dear Lorna's efforts over these. There are no personalities in Baba's work. Baba alone does his work, but it pleases him to use this one or that one in his work. It's so interesting. It's so simple. If only we could keep it that way. If only the mind didn't start thinking. and then seek to take the lead in agitation about, but what about this? What about that? Now a new phase in the development of Avatar's abode begins, and it falls to Bill to direct it. And Baba wants Robert to wholeheartedly cooperate with Bill and work under his direction in the development of the place. In so doing, Robert will be cooperating with Baba in his work in Australia. What an opportunity. Robert is to discontinue farming and earn his living outside. But Baba will not be happy for him to remain at day labour, but wishes him to look around and get a more remunerative job. Remunerative job. One that will enable him to keep himself and his family in good circumstances, have his own car for going to work and for visiting, etc. In other words, establishes a normal life,
Yes.
not extremely hand-to-mouth as it is at that time.
Well, I guess we all sort of thought that was spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's again what I loved about Baba.
So practical.
So practical, so simple and natural. Everyone at Avatar should establish himself as a person of consequence in the district, so that the whole district can gradually be won over to Baba, so that Avatar's abode becomes a place towards which all eyes turn. Barbara wishes Robert and Lorna to get out among people much more than they have been doing, and to entertain more people in their home. Never forcing Barbara on people, but never losing an opportunity to tell them about him. It is in order to make this possible for Robert and Lorna that Barbara wishes Robert to discontinue farming. Robert and Lorna will continue living in the farmhouse rent-free, but they must maintain it in good shape. They will also continue to have their present garden area, and that also should be a delight to the eye. Robert should contribute 1 day's labour a week under Bill's direction in the general maintenance and improvement of the property. All the land that he had under cultivation and all the land under crops now, when the crops have been harvested, should be ploughed once more and suitable pasture grass grown. And 1 or 2 cows should be kept for milk for both families, Robert and Lorna, and John and Joan. They're not too young now to help with the milking. The evening milking could be her manual service to Barbara. If 1 or 2 cows are not sufficient to keep down the grass, 1 or 2 steers for beef could also be run. Isn't that it? When Robert has secured a good job, he should pay off any debts and loans there may be as quickly as possible, and then contribute a certain amount of his wages to Avatar's abode. If Robert can wholeheartedly cooperate with Bill and happily work in the development of Avatar's abode under Bill's direction, and Barbara knows he will be able to do this, he will naturally become one of the trustees when the trust is formed. Robert, getting money from his father for farming, is out now since he will not be farming. However, should Robert, because of some emergency, approach his father for money and be refused, Robert should write to Barbara about it, and Barbara will tell Bill what to do. This is the page. Yeah. Now, there's a little section with regard to Lorna. Lorna should know that the time is fast approaching for Barbara's manifestation. She should not worry about anything, about Ken, that is her cousin. Who's Ken? Her brother. Brother. About Robert, about Avatar's abode, about Radha. She should look after her health and Radha's health and eyes, and see to Radha's education. Barbara knows everything, and he will do perfectly in his time. She should look after her home and garden, and in her spare time tell the children of the district about Barbara in the terms of a mother and housewife, and teach them Barbara's songs. It's so sweet, yeah. So beautiful. What a beautiful life is that Barbara makes possible for all of us. Yes. Yeah. If only we just simply, yeah. The conclusion, by the way, to all these wishes, the last page, I might as well read this now, which really relates to the first statement, the first major objective. All who are named in these wishes of Baba and all who in the future live at Avatar's abode or are in close contact with the place should spare no effort to bring about and maintain good, neighbourly relation with all round in the district, so that a lover of Baba or a follower of Baba becomes a household word meaning he or she, quote, who thinks of others. Isn't that, again, so beautiful? Baba says that now is the time for Australia to begin to awaken to his presence in the world. And his lovers should not shrink from any sacrifice to help in this awakening. Especially his lovers at Avatar's abode should be bold in telling people that beloved man now. In every effort that is made, Baba will help it inwardly. Baba will be behind every effort made. Every person named in these wishes of Baba should, after thoroughly weighing the import of Baba wishes him or her to do, write to Baba expressing his or her willingness to fulfill Baba's wish. None of these wishes of Baba, except the transference of Baba's abode to build, are to be made known to anyone not named in them. That, of course, referred to the other Baba lovers who were in Sydney